Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing some Dark Magician Girl test hands. So I'm really excited for this one because this deck is a really fun deck that plays one of the most nostalgic cards in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the form of Dark Magician Girl. It's a very fun deck that basically utilizes the Magician Girl cards to be able to go into some really amazing boss monsters and even use Dark Magician Girl as your boss monster for this deck, which is really cool. I love the way that the deck functions and it's really fun. If you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is down in the description below, but don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test hands. And we're going to get straight on into this one because this deck is a really fun deck that can play some really cool plays. You can summon out cards like Dark Magician, Dark Magician Girl. Like, you can't play a Dark Magician Girl without Dark Magician because he just kind of ties into the deck too well with some of the cards, especially her own effect that lets you gain attack points based on the amount of Dark Magicians you have on the graveyard or have in the graveyard, which is very important to be able to increase her attack points. You kind of have to play him as well in the deck, but he is not the main focus of the deck in this particular build. She is, which is what's really awesome about this particular deck. So let's go ahead and do a quick pile shuffle, and as soon as we get done with this pile shuffle, we're going to see what we can do for a test hand, because this deck, like I said, it's super fun. It's very easy to play because you're going to be able to summon out a lot of different boss monsters, and it's just a really cool deck. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck up a little bit, give it a quick little shuffle, and we're going to see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Apple Magician Girl, Chocolate Magician Girl, Soul Servant, a copy of another Chocolate Magician Girl, and a Dark Magician. So this is a pretty good hand. You have some really simple plays that you can do in this particular hand. Very simple plays. You can just go ahead and activate your, or normal summon out your copy of your Chocolate Magician Girl. And once you normal summon out your copy of Chocolate Magician Girl, she has the ability to discard a spellcaster to be able to draw a card. You can go ahead and do that, or you can activate your copy of Soul Servant to be able to look at your deck and be able to stack the deck with another monster. So you can earn another card that specifically lists Dark Magician. So we're just going to go ahead and stack the copy of our Magician's Navigation. You can grab the Magician's Navigation or the copy of the Dark Magical Circle. If you want to get a lot more pluses, probably the Dark Magical Circle is going to be the best card to be able to put on top of the deck. It's very important to be able to grab cards like that because you're going to get even more card economy as you're playing through this particular duelist. So we're going to go ahead and put that on top of the deck, and then we're going to use her effect to be able to discard a card from our hand, like a copy of our Apple Magician Girl or the Dark Magician himself, which would be a little bit more helpful because you had the copy of Soul Servant that you can banish to draw another card. So we're then going to draw a card off the deck, and surprise, surprise, it's our Dark Magical Circle, which you can then activate and look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then put them back in any order, which is pretty good. If it has a card that specifically lists Dark Magician in it, like a copy of Dark Magical Circle or another Soul Servant, you can add that card from your deck to your hand, which is pretty good. I would probably just grab the copy of my Dark Magical Circle, and then I'm going to stack the deck like this, because if you do stack it like this, you're going to get more plays where you're not going to draw into this card right off the bat, because you don't super need it right off the bat, but it's going to help you out in the long run of things. So now you can use the copy of Soul Servant that you have in the graveyard, go ahead and banish that card, and it's going to let you draw a card because you have a Dark Magician in the graveyard to get another copy of it. You can then set it on your side of the field, and then you pretty much just pass against your opponent. It's a little bit of a control-based deck. If you guys are unfamiliar with what the cards do, all of your Magician Girls have the ability that when they're attacked into, you get to special summon a copy of another Magician spellcaster type monster from a different place, and then you half the attack of the monster that's attacking, and then you divert the attack to the one that you just special summon. That's kind of the common effect between a lot of your spellcaster Magician Girls, which is kind of neat to be able to kind of combo them like that. If you do pass turn and your opponent does decide to attack into you, you've kind of already got a setup where you can then special summon out the copy of the Dark Magician. This will chain and banish a card on your opponent's side of the field, and then they'll attack into this card, which is kind of neat to be able to just immediately attack into the Dark Magician. If we draw for turn, you're going to draw into a copy of Paladinium Oracle Mana, and you can use the copy of your Magician Girl, your Chocolate Magician Girl, or you can actually use your copy of your Soul Servant at this point to be able to stack the deck, which is pretty cool just to be able to stack the deck again. to be able to get more plays. You can stack the deck with a card. It just lets you stack the deck with any card that's a card that is a Dark Magician in its text or Dark Magician Girl in its text, which is pretty good just to be able to grab those cards. You can grab something like an Eternal Soul or a Magician's Navigation, depending on what you have in your hand. I would grab the Eternal Soul just so you can start reviving back your copy of Dark Magician to start getting banishes. And then after you use this particular effect, you can then use your copy of your Chocolate Magician Girl to discard your copy of your Paladinium Oracle Mana to draw another card, which is kind of cool. And you have the ability also of the Soul Servant that's in your graveyard that has the ability that if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish it to draw cards equal number of Paladinium monsters, Dark Magician and or Dark Magician Girls with different names on the field or in the graveyard. So we can actually use this for a draw 2, which is kind of neat, which is where you kind of combo with your copy of your Magician's Circle, where you can actually use Magician's Circle to look at the next 3 that you're going to get, and then you can kind of decide what you need the most, or you're going to get a draw 2, which is kind of cool. So you're kind of going to have to pick here. You're going to want to put it like this so you do draw into this during your draw phase, which is going to be really helpful. And plus, having these 2 in hand is going to help you out even more, because now what you can do is, now that you've banished this, because we have a Paladinium Oracle Mana in the graveyard and the Dark Magician on the field, you can banish your copy of Soul Servant on turn 3, which this is turn 3. You do get to draw 2 cards instead of 1, which is kind of cool. You then can normal summon out your copy of your Magician's Rod, because we haven't normal summoned this turn, and the copy of Magician's Rod will be able to grab a card that specifically lists Dark Magician in its name, which is going to be really, really helpful to grab something like a copy of Magician's Navigation or something to that effect. I would probably grab a copy of maybe the Secrets of Dark Magic to go into some additional plays with my copy of my Dark Magician on my side of the field, if you want to go that route. Or you could grab another copy of the Magicalized or Dark Magic Circle, which is another option for you guys. Or you can even grab something like another copy of Soul Servant to set it up for another play during the following turn. I would probably just grab the copy of the Secrets of Dark Magic just to give me an additional fusion spell. You do have the Eye of Timaeus, which is kind of a fusion spell, but you're going to be able to revive back during your opponent's turn to go into an additional play. So you can go ahead and set that card, and then you can activate the copy of Eye of Timaeus, and the Eye of Timaeus is going to let you use your copy of Dark Magician on your side of the field to then special summon a monster from your extra deck that specifically requires a Dark Magician in its particular fusion requirements. So you can special summon out something like the copy of the Dark Magicians. I personally wouldn't. You can special summon out a Dragoons, which you can, but you're going to use that anyways later. Or you can special summon out, well, really Dragoons and the copy of the Dark Magicians is really your best, like, only target in the extra deck. You can include other stuff if you want to, but for conversation's sake, we're just going to throw out a copy of Dragoons, which is going to be really helpful, because then you're just going to set this on your side of the field, and then you can link and actually go in for a copy of Anaconda, and then the copy of Anaconda, you'll pay your 500 or your 2,000, and you'll send from the deck to the graveyard a copy of Dark Magician, a copy of your Red Eyes and Red Eyes Fusion, which Red Eyes is actually on the top. Thank goodness we didn't draw into that. We're going to shuffle up the deck like this just to be able to kind of get your cards good and mixed up. Go ahead and send these to the graveyard, and then summon out your second copy of Dragoons, which is kind of helpful to get you 2 copies of Dragoons on your side of the field. And then once you pass over to your opponent when they go, you can immediately activate the copy of the Eternal Soul, which will bring back your copy of your Dark Magician onto your side of the field and get you a banish off of a card. And then if you really kind of want to push the issue against your opponent, you can use your copy of your Secrets of Dark Magic to special summon out a copy of the Dark Magicians as well, because you can use the Dark Magician that you just summoned and a copy of your Apple Magician Girl in your hand to be able to instantly fusion summon during your opponent's turn into a copy of the Dark Magicians. So if they do activate a spell or trap during their turn, you're going to get to draw a card and then set it on your side of the field if it was a spell or trap. So we're going to draw, and it's a Dark Magician. We just kind of keep that in our hand, which is kind of neat because the copy of Eternal Soul will come in handy with a card like that, and it's also going to kind of back up our copy of Dragoons to be able to get us additional cards to discard for the negation. So you get this really insane field just off of getting 2 turns, and this is turn 4 of the opponent when you're going into these plays. So this deck really kind of pops off. So let's see what we can do for another test hand. As you guys can see, like I said, the deck really does kind of pop off and get you some really insane plays. You get first turn plays where you're playing very defensive. Your opponent's probably not going to OTK you because you're just going to normal summon out like a copy of Chocolate Magician Girl, or back it up with a Paladinium Oracle Mana or Mahad, which is kind of neat, and you can get into some really neat plays that this deck has. As long as you can get 2 monsters on the field, you're usually going to be fine. But Soul Servant is such an important card in this particular deck, which is why I love playing that card at 3. And again, if you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is down in the description below if you want to see the full deck profile. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. So we're going to draw into an Eternal Soul, Dark Magician, Eternal Soul, Magician Soul, and a Dark Magic Attack. So this is not terrible. It's not the best hand in the whole wide world, but we do have a lot of plays with that Magician Soul. So we're going to go ahead and use the copy of Magician Soul. We're going to go ahead and reveal it in our hand to be able to send from our deck to the graveyard a copy of Dark Magician. So I'm going to go ahead, or Dark Magician Girl. I'm going to go ahead and send Dark Magician Girl to the graveyard, and you can either special summon the copy of your, you can either special summon out the copy of your Dark Magician Girl or send her to the graveyard. I would prefer to send her to the graveyard because the Magician Souls is going to come in handy to get me an additional draw on the field, which is really important. So we're going to go ahead and send a copy of Eternal Soul and the Dark Magic Attack to the graveyard because we're going to need to get a normal summon out of this, which is going to be really important. So we're going to get a draw 2 off of this, and as long as we get a normal summon, which we play plenty in this deck, we should be okay. We are still fine. It's not the greatest that we drew because we do have the Soul Servant. The Soul Servant will let us stack the deck, which is going to be pretty important. So we're going to go ahead and stack the deck with a copy of the Dark Magical Circle, and then we're going to go ahead and send this to the graveyard, banish it, and then we're going to get to draw out the copy of the Dark Magical Circle. Then being able to activate it and look at the top 3 of the deck, we're going to go ahead and shuffle the deck up just to make sure that you guys know that it's totally random. We're going to go ahead and look at the top 3 of the deck, and depending on what we get, we can add it from deck to hand as long as it does include Dark Magician in the name, which is very important. It does have to be a card that does either it's Dark Magician or it has to be a spell or trap that specifically lists Dark Magician. So you can go ahead and stack it with a Magician's Rod and then grab the other Eternal Soul and stack it like that, which is totally fine. It's not that big of a deal that we didn't get into our extra normal summon because you do have the copy of Eternal Soul that you can set, and you have the Eye of Timaeus to kind of back you up next turn because you do have to target a Dark Magician that you control. You can't use it from the hand, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you still have some plays that you can go off into next turn. So we pass turn against our opponent. They're probably going to destroy our copy of our Magician Souls, which is going to be a little bit unfortunate. And the only downside to this card is it does only special summon, or special summons from the hand or the graveyard. You can't special summon from anywhere else, but you're only going to want to special summon from the hand or the graveyard. So you can activate this during your opponent's turn to interrupt them, to throw out a copy of Dark Magician, to banish something, which is pretty cool. So when we draw for turn, we're going to draw into the copy of Magician's Rod, normal summon that to our side of the field. And it's going to let us add from our deck to our hand another card that specifically lists Dark Magician, which at this point I would grab a copy of Soul Servant and put that card on top of the deck, or be able to add it from deck to hand, excuse me. A lot of the cards, they put them either on top of the deck or add in the hand. Sometimes I get them mixed up. But we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck again, and we're going to go ahead and see what we can do. We're going to use the copy of Soul Servant, and since we can stack the deck with a card that specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, I am this time going to put Secrets of Dark Magic on the top of the deck, and then I'm going to banish my copy of Soul Servant from the graveyard to be able to look at the top, or grab the top 2 off the deck, because I have a Dark Magician Girl in the graveyard and I have a Dark Magician on the field. So we're going to draw into a copy of, oh surprise, a copy of Apple Magician Girl and a copy of Eye of Timaeus. So we have some really good plays going on here that we can go into. The copy of Secrets of Dark Magic can get us into a fusion play, or we can just Eye of Timaeus out a fusion monster. So we're going to go ahead and use the Eye of Timaeus, and we're going to go ahead and fusion summon out a copy of our Red Eyes Dark Dragoons. Now that we summoned out our copy of Dragoons, you can still go for some more plays because you can actually use Eternal Soul to revive back your copy of your Dark Magician, and then be able to use the Secrets of Dark Magic to fusion summon these 2 monsters together, because this was during our opponent's turn that we activated, it wasn't this turn. And then we can throw out a copy of the Dark Magicians as well as a backup play to go into some more really cool plays. Now the really neat thing is instead of going into this during your main phase, you can actually go into this card during the battle phase, which is really cool. So if you have these two left on the field and you go ahead and swing at the opponent for 3k, swing at them for 16 and 25, you can then drop the copy of the Secrets of Dark Magic and fusion summon during the battle phase into the copy of the Dark Magicians to be able to swing for an additional 28, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for another test hand. As you guys can see, the deck works very well and can get out some really amazing plays, especially summoning out Dragoons, which it does rightfully belong in a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl deck or Red Eyes deck. So it's really cool to be able to actually use the monster in the deck that it actually belongs in instead of some random deck, which is cool to me. Like, I really like to be able to actually summon that card in decks like this because it's really cool to be able to summon it in a deck that it actually belongs in instead of using like Anaconda to turbo it out with any two monsters. But it's still pretty cool to be able to summon it regardless. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. So we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, or excuse me, draw for turn. I didn't mean it. I meant draw for, you know, whatever. You're too early. We're going to go ahead and draw into a Dark Magician, a copy of Magician Souls, Secrets of Dark Magic, and a Red Eyes Black Dragon. So this is where you kind of turbo out a, you know, you know what's about to happen, okay? You're going to use this, and you're going to immediately send these to the graveyard because it lets you fusion summon into a fusion monster in your extra deck, using monster in your hand or graveyard, including a Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. So you're immediately going to throw out a copy of Surprise Dragoons. You're then going to use this to be able to special summon to your field by sending from your deck to the graveyard a copy of Dark Magician Girl to help you out with your copy of your Magician's Souls or your copy of your actually, as a matter of fact, if you didn't want to do that, you could actually send the copy of Dark Magician Girl to the graveyard and then immediately revive it from the graveyard off your copy of your Magician Souls, and then you actually summon out Dark Magician Girl, and you have the Dark Magician in the graveyard as well. Now you have a little bit of fodder to be able to throw out with your copy of your Red Eyes Dark Dragoons, which is really helpful to be able to have that one extra card in a first turn play. You do have Dark Magician Girl, which is kind of the star of the deck, which is kind of cool, and you do have additional plays that you're going to be able to draw into. So if we go and let our opponent go, we're going to discard this, and it's going to help us stack the graveyard for stuff like Soul Servant. So if we draw for turn, we're going to draw into a chocolate. You can normal summon out the chocolate to your side of the field, and then you can just start swinging at your opponent. You can pop cards with this, or you can hold the copy of chocolate in your hand if you feel like you're going to need to negate, and then swing at your opponent with the Dark Magician Girl. This card is going to get you additional pops. This card is going to be basically a 23 beat stick, which is going to be kind of cool to get you all those additional attacks and all that additional damage. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for one more test hand. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck. And as you guys can see, it is a Dragoons kind of turbo build, which is the really important thing to keep in mind, which is fine. It's totally okay because it is a deck that's based around Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. So it's okay to play it in this deck, which is what's really cool. I like that. Again, I say, I really think it's cool to be able to actually summon that card in this deck. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. We're going to draw into a chocolate, a copy of Magician's Rod, Magician's Soul, Magician's Navigation, and an Apprentice. This is the perfect hand for this deck because you're going to get Dark Magician Girl and Dark Magician on your side of the field really, really easily, and a Dragoons, so you have some really, really good plays. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of the Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod is going to let us search the deck. I like to go ahead and get the copy of the Magician's Circle to go ahead and set up for my plays, especially with the Magician's Navigation in the hand. It's just really so much better to be able to do that. We're then going to immediately use the effect of the Magician's Souls to special summon itself to your side of the field by sending a copy of Dark Magician Girl from the deck to the graveyard to be able to just kind of set up your plays even more. You can actually, if you don't want to send her to the graveyard, you can actually send a copy of the Paladinium Oracle Mana to the graveyard instead, which is a little bit better of a play in this particular scenario because she can be special summoned back from the graveyard by her own effect, which is kind of neat. And it's just going to get you the two monsters that you're going to need to go into your Dragoons. We're then going to use the copy of Apprentice in our hand to be able to special summon her to your side of the field by discarding chocolate and add from your deck to your hand your copy of your Dark Magician, which is going to help you out a lot more because you're going to have that card as card economy to be able to special summon out of your hand off your copy of your Magician's Navigation. So then, now that we have this particular hand, you can then activate the copy of the Dark Magical Circle to be able to reveal the top three, look at them, and then you can add one of them from the deck to the hand if it's specifically lists Dark Magician. We can set up the hand like this, or you can save it instead after you... Actually, I probably would save it. Like, it doesn't have to do with what I revealed. I actually would save that card. Let's go ahead and do this really quick. Don't do what I just did. Actually use these. put these out of your field and then summon out your copy of your Anaconda. The reason I say do this instead is because you're going to get a lot less cards that you're going to reveal that you don't want, like your copy of Red Eyes and Red Eyes Fusion. And I'd rather show you guys and do a little bit of a backtrack really quick and be like, wait a minute, this is a better play to actually send these to graveyard, because if you send these to graveyard, you don't run the risk of hitting them with the copy of your Dark Magical Circle. And I'm going to show you guys why that is so much better in this particular scenario. So we're going to go ahead and send these to graveyard. Keep in mind we can't summon any more monsters, which is fine, but you can still do other stuff, which is kind of neat, because this has the ability that you can copy the effective card. Also, you can't special summon for the rest of the turn, but I can still activate spells or traps, which is still pretty cool. So I can just immediately activate the copy of Dark Magical Circle. Not even worry about the Mech Knight. I'm not even worried about it. And then we're going to look at the top three. Excuse me, I didn't shuffle. We're going to reveal the top three off the deck, which is a Dark Magician Girl, a Lemon Magician Girl, and a copy of Chocolate Magician Girl. I do kind of want that Chocolate Magician Girl, so I'm going to put her on the top, but it's not going to super matter because I'm just going to be able to use them with the copy of Magician's Navigation, and I'm basically going to go like that against my opponent, which is kind of cool. So as we go into the next turn, we're going to go ahead and set our copy of Magician's Navigation, pass against the opponent. When we pass and they go and they establish something on their side of the field, you can then activate your copy of Magician's Navigation, use your copy of the Dark Magician and special summon it to your field, and then go, hey, guess what? Dark Magician Girl as well. Get a banish on your side of the field. If they don't have any responses, you're going to banish something on their field, which is kind of cool. When you go back to your turn, you're going to be able to draw for turn, and guess what? Since we actually looked technically in the deck, we would shuffle. So you're going to draw something different because you did technically with the copy of your copy of your Magician's Navigations, you did technically look in the deck for the copy of the Dark Magician Girl, so you have to shuffle. So if you draw for turn, you're going to draw the Paladinium Oracle Mahad, special summon him immediately to your side of the field, and then you have one of the craziest boards you can make in Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, because when you draw him, you can just immediately reveal him and special summon to your field. So you pretty much at this point, you win because you have all the Magicians and you've assembled them all on your side of the field to go into the ultimate dark magic attack. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to be able to play around with, as you guys can see. I really think it's cool that you can actually build an entire deck based around Dark Magician Girl and the Magician Girl archetype. I really like the way that it plays. It's super fun to be able to play it. And if you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is down in the description below, which is really cool as well. Or not, the deck profile is down in the description below where you guys can go check out the video. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.